Efficiency multiplier. It's not just good luck, it's described as an exponential increase in system efficiency and optimized output flowing through you because you're perfectly aligned.
Fascinating. Okay, let's bring it back to failure for a moment. The system audit against the 10 elements of Dean. One key rule prohibits riba. We usually think of that as financial interest.
It's much broader here. RIBA is defined as systemic corruption or imbalance. It's presented as a fundamental error, a kind of vector corruption in the ENFs.
A vector corruption, what does that lead to?
It causes perceived reality to essentially collapse into destructive interference patterns. Waste, conflict, loss. It's the systemic counterpart to individual shirk, the kernel corruption. Shirk leads to RIBA.
Okay, so if shirk is the individual kernel error and riba is the resulting systemic mess, what's the tangible, observable cost? This brings us back to that economic shockwave figure you mentioned earlier.
Right. The sources put forward a rational thinking valuation. Remember, RT is level 7 of the SEH V9.1 operating system, and the figure is staggering, somewhere between $25 trillion and $50 trillion.
25 to 50 trillion dollars. That sounds like the system's potential market value, surely.
Ah, but here's the crucial Alhac correction, as the sources call it. That massive figure is emphatically not the system's potential value.
Wait, it's not a potential gain. Then
No,
what is it?
it's presented as the quantifiable present-day cost of shirk. It represents the accumulated value of all the inefficiency, the cognitive bias, the resource misallocation caused by humanity relying on faulty RT as its ultimate governor.
So that 2550T is the measure of current global waste.
Exactly. It's the economic footprint of kernel corruption. The true value of the ADGE system, according to this framework, isn't that dollar amount itself, but its function as the only protocol capable of reclaiming that trillions of dollars worth of waste and converting it into Baraka systemic efficiency.
That completely reframes economics. The goal isn't maximizing GDP as we know it, but minimizing waste by aligning with this ADGE protocol. How does this apply to things like markets and global trade?
Well, standard RT economics GDP, market fluctuations, supply chains, is seen as merely describing the movement of resource phantasms. That's the as-SID view.
Phantasms. Illusions.
Illusory in the sense that their ultimate value isn't inherent, but derived from their potential contribution to network development. The ADGE claims to govern these flows correctly, directing them towards long-term, maybe even eternal baraka instead of short-term temporal gains, which, they argue, inevitably create riba.
And I suppose the same logic applies to geopolitics, things like US-China tensions, regional conflicts.
Yes, those are classified as illusory conflicts over power phantasms, fighting over temporary resources or control, which just generates more fragmentation and riba.
And where's the ADGE aims for?
Network harmony, because collective non-corrupted development achieved through alignment is seen as the only genuine source of that quantifiable safety and security.
Okay, this is where things might get really challenging for a conventional scientific worldview. The sources apparently address phenomena usually classed as paranormal. You mentioned telepathy tapes.
Yes, and remote viewing, near-death experiences where verifiable information was obtained, things that science generally struggles to explain or dismisses.
How does the ADGE framework handle these?
What's really interesting is the governance angle. It claims these are not paranormal anomalies or exceptions to the rule.
They're not. Then what are they?
They're presented as standard operational features of the NAF-centric universe, built-in capabilities.
Standard features. To what end?
Their purpose, according to the sources, is functional to demonstrate conclusively that the ANAFs, the cognitive essence, operates beyond the physical brain. The brain is just a temporary interface, like a modem. These phenomena prove the signal exists independently of the hardware.
So the fact that rational thinking struggles to explain telepathy actually confirms RT's limited jurisdiction from the ADGE perspective.
Yeah.
It proves level 7 can't handle everything.
Precisely. It reinforces the hierarchy. And this leads directly to the example they use for the ultimate jurisdictional mistake. Stephen Hawking.
Hawking, how does he fit in?
His physics, his scientific work that's acknowledged as brilliant level 7 contribution, valuable as sig about the how of the physical universe.
Okay.
But his philosophical conclusions, his atheism, his statements about the universe having no purpose or creator, These are diagnosed within the framework as a catastrophic shirk failure.
Why? Because he used the wrong tool for the job.
Exactly. Jurisdictional overreach. He used his level 7 tool, physics, to try and answer the fundamental level 1 to 5 governance questions. What is purpose? Is there a creator? What happens after death? Who sets the rules? Where does authority come from?
He didn't cede his rational thinking authority on those questions.
Correct. He relied on his RT interpretation of his physics findings to answer questions outside its mandated scope. The result, according to ADGE, was a perfectly functional level 7 scientific model attached to a fundamentally corrupted governance output. The output was defined as shirk.
That really pulls it all together. The ultimate takeaway seems to be this. The ANAFS, the cognitive agent, is self-governing, and its entire perceived reality is a direct, almost mathematical, result of how faithfully it adheres to these 10 elements of Dean, the core ADGE principles.
Right. Every system, every conflict, even personal struggles are framed as optimization challenges for cognitive development within this overarching governance structure.
And connecting this back to the individual, you mentioned something about capacity, if verse 2.286 in their source text.
Yes, a crucial point. The system explicitly guarantees, in its own source code apparently, that a law, the self-executing governance system, does not burden a EONAFs beyond its specific capacity. The word is wusaha.
So capacity isn't some vague potential, it's concrete, defined.
It seems so. It refers to your unique defined starting conditions, your resources, knowledge, circumstances, inherent abilities, everything available to you at that moment. It's specific to you.
That changes the equation for accountability, doesn't it?
Massively. It implies you're never judged or held accountable for things genuinely outside your defined capacity, knowledge you couldn't possibly access, resources you simply didn't have. It suggests fairness is built into the system's core logic.
Which means free will isn't about unlimited choice.
Not according to this, no. It's not about having infinite options, but about making meaningful choices within the specific defined boundaries of your capacity. You're accountable for optimizing what you uniquely possess and control.
Which leads to a really provocative final thought for you, the listener.
If you were to accept, even hypothetically, that your capacity, your wusaha, is precisely defined and measured by the system, and you're only accountable within that definition, how would that change the way you measure your own success, your progress, and your accountability starting right now?